Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate highlighting duos. So these are new, they're out. They had some in the past, for example, Moodlight was a favorite for many people. This is the new Moodlight, and I don't have the old one. From what I understand, the color is slightly different, but still pretty similar. So these are made in Italy. I picked up 3 of the 4 shades. We're going to do some swatches, some comparisons. I'll show you what these look like on my cheeks. So let's actually go first to the face demos. So for each of these demos, I have on the Koh Gen Do Aqua Foundation in shade 012 with nothing else on my face. I have no other products on, and we're using the Chantecaille F04 brush. This is an angled cheek brush, and it's made out of fox hair, so it's soft. So we're getting, a moderate pickup of the product here, and I'm using that to apply the product so you can see it on its own. And we're doing first the top shade, then the bottom shade from each duo. So as we're looking at these, I have to say Peachlight is my favorite. I think Peachlight is just such a stunning shade. And, this is really going to be more of those soft peachy pinks. But I think both the light shade and the deep shade are wearable at my complexion for all of the duos that I picked up. It's really just more about placement, how you want to use it. So with these duos, for example, if you have a deeper complexion than I do, you might want to consider using the light shade sparingly, like under the eyes or, in certain areas to kind of brighten. But maybe on the cheek, you want something like a subtle highlight that matches more of the deeper shade. There's still a way to mix and match both of these shades on your face, regardless of your complexion, in my opinion. Now, that being said, there are still going to be certain shades that work better on certain tones than others. But if you find one of the shades doesn't work so well for you in a duo that you pick up, definitely use it as eyeshadow, okay? So they work really well that way as well. So these products are fairly firmly pressed in the pan, and there's actually decent pickup though. So they're a very nice, smooth product. You can put this on with a very subtle application, or you can bling it out a little bit, but these are never going to be super sparkly or anything. They're really more of just a beautiful, sophisticated shine. Okay. Let's move on to some swatches. We have Peachlight here, and you can see our lighter shade here looks kind of like a soft peachy rose, and our deeper shade looks more of a coppery, bronzy kind of shade. Let's take a look at this on the arm here. Look at that. You can see what kind of sheen you get, how it's smooth. It's almost, like a subtle metallic. You don't have any glittery chunks. And just look at that sheen. It's just gorgeous. Moving on to Moodlight, you can see this one is more of a soft golden champagne in the lighter shade. And we have something a little bit browner, a little bit more nude. And it's really beautiful, as a subtle shade. Look at that though. You can see the difference here. This deeper shade here in Peachlight is definitely going to have more of that orangey, peachy, coppery tone, whereas Moodlight, you have more of this soft, kind of this it's like a soft fawn brown mixed with a touch of bronze in there. And then we have this light champagne with a touch of gold. And then here is Nudelight. So Nudelight, in the pan, this looks kind of like a white and like a deep antique gold, but this white is really going to be more of a soft golden shade here. Look at that, how much more gold it is on the skin compared to how it looks in the pan. It's really more of something with like a kind of a white cream base, but you see a ton of gold reflection on here. So think of this one more as a white gold, and this is definitely going to be more of your antique copper gold there. So these are the 3, Peachlight, Moodlight, and Nudelight. There was a 4th one, but it did look too deep for me. I do think that it would probably be something that I could use, but I would probably have to use it more as like a shimmery blush or something like that, rather than as a true highlight. So let's start off with some comparisons for Peachlight. We're going to start off with this year's Chantecaille Holiday Highlighter. This is the Lotus Radiance Highlight. And let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And I'm going to put this actually just right here so you can kind of see that next to the lightest shade in Peachlight. You can see that the tones, the colors of these are very, very similar. The difference is actually going to be the amount of sheen that you get. The Chantecaille is going to be a bit more subtle. It doesn't have as much of a shine or light reflection as the Tom Ford does. So the Tom Ford is going to be a little bit more radiant, but the color is pretty much spot on. Now, the closest shade I have to the deepest shade in Peachlight is this year's shade. This is the Or Rose from Chanel. And let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. You can see though that these are not going to be quite a match. You can see actually the deeper shade in Peachlight is going to have a lot more pink in it than the Chanel. The Chanel is going to be a lot rustier. There's a lot more orange in there. But these would be my two closest shades. So if you have those, that's a pretty close dupe to the Tom Ford Peachlight. And I did just want to include this. I'm just going to put this kind of at the top, but this is one of the new Cle de Peau highlighters in 201 Twilight's Glow. This is a permanent highlighter in their collection, but it's kind of the pinkest one I have, but I just wanted to show you how different that is compared to those in Peachlight. But I wanted to also really kind of highlight the difference in texture. So as you see, they are both going to be very radiant, but the Tom Ford has more of a metallic glint, whereas the Cle de Peau is almost, it looks a little bit more fine and almost more of a pearly glow compared to a metallic glint from Tom Ford. Next, we're taking a look at Moodlight. And for this, I wanted to take a look at the Illuminate highlighter in OMG. So this, let's look at this with the lighter shade here. And you can see that the OMG is going to be a little different. There's actually going to be a little bit more of a peachy gold vibe compared to the Moodlight, which is just going to be a little bit more nude actually. It's a little more champagne, doesn't have quite as much peach as the OMG. And then I also want to take a look at the Chanel. This is the Pearl de Lumiere highlight. And I have to say this one actually swatches much more deeply than it does on the cheek, but it did remind me of the shade, the deeper shade in Moodlight, and you can see that those are going to be pretty close. And one last comparison here. This is the Laura Mercier Rose Glow highlighter, and I just wanted to kind of put that with these here. We're going to put this right underneath there, but you can see it's almost a mix of those two shades together, and that's why I wanted to kind of highlight that. But the Rose Glow from Laura Mercier, this is going to be more of a powdery texture than the Tom Ford or actually any of these other ones. So it's, you know, it's just a little bit more powdery. It's easier to pick up like a lot of product, which means it can, if you're using it strictly as a highlighter, you can sometimes get too much, but because it's a more powdery texture, it's also not quite as reflective. And it works well, like if you're mixing it like as a highlighting blush and things as well. So kind of a different texture there. I use it a little bit differently. Next up, we have the Tom Ford Nudelight. So again, this is really looking at more like golds. So the first thing I thought of is the Chanel Duo de Camellias. And this is my all-time favorite highlighter. I'm just gonna swatch the whole thing right here so you can kind of see how that compares. But notice that this lighter shade in Nudelight is sort of a mix between these. So this looks kind of like it might be like silvery, and it is a little silvery, but it's kind of silvery with a faint touch of gold in there, and this is really going to be a pale yellow gold. So mixing those together with just a little bit more of this golden shade here is going to give you the lighter shade in Nudelight. I also wanted to take a look at the Eclat Brillant highlighter from Chantecaille. This came out a few years ago. It was a limited edition, and it's still around sometimes though, so you can kind of still find this. You can see this is going to be more of a yellow gold. It's a little bit lighter in comparison, but this is going to be my closest match to the deepest shade in Nudelight. And the last one that I want to swatch, this is the Suko 101 highlighter. This was the Melting Powder highlight. It came out last year for holiday. And we're just going to put this right down here, but it's going to be a little bit peachier than anything in Nudelight. Doesn't quite match Moodlight or Peachlight either, but just wanted to kind of show you how that compares because I know this was a highlight that a lot of people kind of missed out on. So I hope those comparisons were helpful. And again, I do think that the ones that we discussed here, they are some pretty good alternatives to these highlighters. But I have to say, I've really been enjoying these Tom Ford highlighters. I've had them for, I don't know, probably a month or so now, quite a while, maybe more than that now. But I've been reaching for them all the time. I use these or the Cle de Peau highlighters. Those are kind of the ones I've been reaching for the most. And they're just so easy to use. Now, I have to say that my favorite by far is going to be Peachlight. I use this lightest shade here all the time. I don't use a deeper shade quite as much, but I will use it very sparingly over a blush sometimes. But I really also like Moodlight. So these two are going to be my favorites. Nudelight, I have to say, I don't really use that much just because I'm not huge on the golder tones. But I really like Nudelight on the eyes. They give you a really beautiful luminous eye look for the holidays. And I think it's just, they're a really great product. The formula is great. I haven't experienced any issues with pickup with any type of brush that I've used. I have tried fan brushes, synthetic and natural hair. I have tried the traditional highlighting brushes. I've tried a variety of different hair types from goat and squirrel and fox and so forth as well. And I haven't had issues with pickup with any of them. Again, if you want something that's going to be more strongly pigmented, more radiant, you want to go with a brush that's going to be a little bit firmer. So you're usually looking at something with shorter bristles, something a little more tightly packed. But if you want something very soft and subtle, go with something a little airier. And you can kind of customize your look that way. But I think these are gorgeous. The deeper shades, they work great as blush toppers or accenting certain parts. All of these work great on the eyes. And in the past videos, throughout the past month or so, I have been featuring these randomly in videos where you've seen me use these on the eyes and on the cheeks and so forth. And I have to say, I just really love them. So just wanted to be sure to share some comparisons with you. So if you have been interested in these, you might already have some similar shades in your collection, or perhaps it's an excuse to go shopping. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you very soon. So have a wonderful day.